Hello, listeners. This is Lee Price.
This is Will Ford from Football 365.
And you're listening smartly to At the Bridge Pod, a Chelsea FC podcast, although I would describe it as the Chelsea FC podcast.
Magical from Eden Hazard. Kai Havertz in the Champions League final. Ivanovic! Yes. In the middle, it's just behind him. But it's tapped in by Hakim Ziyech. Matic with the ball driver. Matic takes the net off.
It's time for another episode of At the Bridge Pod, your number one Chelsea FC podcast. Coming up on this episode.
So today we're going to be going through some lingering questions that we still have about Chelsea ahead of the 2024-25 season. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of At the Bridge Pod. I'm joined in a virtual room filled with some lions. I've got Ollie. I've got a very late Chris. He called me out for 7:03 and it's 7:04, I think he joined. So make that as you wish. Chris, what was your moment of the weekend? Were you on time for anything particular?
I'm never late. I arrive exactly when I intend to.
Oh, good. I like that.
I don't like the way you said that.
Oh, no. Oh, flipping heck.
Oh, Ollie.
Chris, come
Had
on.
to bring the tone down.
Moment of the weekend. Come on.
Do you know what? Probably Saturday.
Ooh.
I had a really good training session on Saturday with the girls. Probably the best one we've had a pre-season. Aside from that, it weren't a great weekend, to be honest. Sunday was a bit of a write-off of a day. My game in the morning didn't go well. And it was hot again, which I said I didn't want it to be hot, and yet it stayed hot. So that was annoying.
Oh, Ollie. So I know it was a quiet one, but were you seeing your dad?
No, unfortunately not. So very, very quiet one from me. Absolutely nothing to report, Captain.
Nothing. Oh, man.
Nothing.
Oh, right. Well. Everyone knows that I said on Friday that the Danish Super League was kicking off. There's no highlights from there just yet. Not yet. But let me take you over to our neighbours in Norway. The Elite Serien had a wild one between Sarpsborg and Brann FK. Game ended 1-1 with both goals scored in the 90th minute added time. Hold up, though. Rewind back to the 84th minute. There's an injury. Sarpsborg's medical team are rushing onto the field. One of them's given a yellow card from the referee for running on without permission. Then he clearly opens his mouth, says something, and bam, straight red for dissent. I've never seen that happen before in my life. And what got me was that this now means he's got to sit out the next 3 games due to suspension. I don't know what you do. If you're injured, you're screwed.
Yeah, can't get injured in the next 3 games.
There's no medical team. I was like, oh no, that poor guy. Oh, it was.
Wow.
It was
Should have run his mouth.
I feel that referee wanted to be the centre of attention that day. He was like, I'm going to make a moment. It's like, okay. Anyway, there's some news. There's always news as I find it. There it is. Right. Over the weekend, we had some news that Andrey Santos will return to Strasbourg for the 24-25 season on loan. Dortmund were keen, and others, but Andrey spoke to Liam Rosenior about style of play and sign up yet again in France. I mean, any thoughts on that?
No.
I think it's better that he's going there than Dortmund.
They'll buy him off us, probably.
I think it's a bit disappointing because I expected him to feature this season.
Yeah, I agree. I was also a little bit disappointed with that. But if he was going to go out on loan, I'd rather it be there because at least it's sort of, it's part of us, isn't it, really? You know what I mean? So
Same style of play.
Yeah, and they're trying to match it all up. They're going with the multi-club, aren't they? They're trying to match up. Everyone plays the same, which is fine. I just hope he has a good season there and eventually does actually make a first-team appearance would be nice.
Yeah, I mean, he really impressed me when he captained that under-20 Brazil team to the South American Championship. He was the top scorer. Just want to add that as well. But he looked reasonable. He looked good at Strasbourg last season. And, of course, in Nottingham, less so. But then again, if an Andre goes on loan to Forest, does he make a sound? No. For me, moving to our sister club, he will be a nailed-on starter because we own that club. He will get good game time in a good league. Outside of PSG, it is fairly competitive, that rest of that league structure. I'll be keeping my eyes on Ligue 1 for sure. And until a few days ago, I had no idea how because they didn't have a TV right still. But DAZN and beIN Sports have agreed one, so I'll be watching that whilst I'm out sailing the sea. If you're curious, listeners, I will plug them, even though we have no affiliation to them. On the Continent Pod did a show on that this morning, released today, about the television rights deal. It was interesting. It really was, and they go into it far more than I ever will. So, on the topic of, I don't know how to segue this, but today the WSL fixtures dropped. Yeah, I have no idea. I was like, I can't link that.
Speaking of football,
yeah. Speaking of football, WSL fixtures dropped. Any quick fire overreactions? Any?
Got to play everyone, haven't you?
Yeah, we've got some tough fixtures in a row. I think is the thing I took from it the most. So, Man United and Arsenal back to back is difficult. Liverpool final day is difficult.
Yeah.
But then we thought that about Man United away last game of last season, and it wasn't difficult.
I saw straight away, my eyes went, oh, Arsenal Man City on the opening day. Oh, okay, that's fun. That's quite a big game straight away.
Yeah.
Chelsea finishing the season at home to Liverpool is going to be tough because we saw what they did to us last season towards the back end of the campaign. Spurs and United prior to that on the final day is definitely a tough end to the season, to be fair. Villa and Palace as the opening two. That's a nice start, but we always seem to mess up the start. We always mess it up, let's be honest. And then we've got, obviously, after them two, we've got United, Arsenal, and then Spurs, which is like October going to be rough. That's going to be rough. And I think we'll have Champions League games at the same time, won't we, in between them? I think.
Yeah. It's a really strange summer as well because it's the first time we're going in as an unknown. We don't know what we're going to see.
Yeah,
with the new manager and some new signings, you don't know how it's going to go. It's a bit weird because we've had that consistency for so many years.
Yeah,
it's a really strange summer to think about how the team's going to be set up, how they're going to play, how they're going to adapt. It's interesting.
I mean, are we still the favourites, despite obviously Emma Hayes not being in charge? This is not a dig at Sonia. Yeah, they're not a dig. It's just because it is the unknown element, isn't it?
Well, put it this way: if Pep leaves Man City, do you still back Man City for the title next season?
Depends who comes in.
No,
if it's someone equivalent, because I would consider. Then
we're into another chat, aren't we? Who? I mean.
Yeah.
Well, we've replaced our manager with I would consider an equivalent level of success team to be able to manage at this level.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would put Man City as favourites personally.
They had such a good end to the season.
They had a really good season last season. They've added even more goals to their team, which is insane. And they haven't had much squad turnover, which I think helps as well. I think outside of Man City, I don't think we should be overly worried about anyone else.
Yeah, because Man United have lost some key players.
Man United have lost too many good players.
Yeah, I mean, for me, Man City, would they have won the title if Shaw hadn't been injured? There is a strong chance. We have to be realistic about it, because Shaw was on fire. So it's.
I think you guys are selling us short a little bit. I think we've got every chance of being the favourites. We've won the last 5.
I think it's just the unknown factor that worries me. Yeah, because you never know.
I think that's what it is. Like, I think it's mainly because of how long Emma Hayes was there, and this is like Ferguson leaving Man United.
Yeah, I agree.
We've definitely got a better equivalent manager to Moyes.
There's going to be some element of transition there. We're getting a top manager coming in. Like, it's 100%. Not in that sense. It's not necessarily more like a Ferguson because who replaced Ferguson? That was David Moyes, and he wasn't up to the job. And we think that Bon Pastor is up to the job. So
agreed.
Given that, that's fair. Shouldn't we back our girls?
Yeah.
Well, don't get me wrong. Just because I'm saying we're not favourites doesn't mean I don't think we'll be in the title race. We'll be in the race 100%. Without question. We'll be top 2. I think
true. Yeah, I think
as with last season, until 20 minutes into the Man United game, we didn't know if we was going to be first or second last season.
Yeah. That's
yeah,
true.
it's going to be it is going to be close, but I think we've got to give ourselves every opportunity of winning. I think there's also a question of the question of with Bonpastor's style of play as they adapt to it. There's that new sort of factor that oftentimes new managers who come into a league for the first time can sort of impress.
The new manager bounce.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, you never know.
Because they're just like they've not been as well researched by the opposition. There's not as much known about them. All of that stuff. So there's an element of novelty there as well, which will actually help us.
One final piece of news, and I've crowbarred it in purely because it was requested by Mr. Alexander. No, it wasn't Mr. Alexander. Sorry. I know that is just embarrassing, isn't it? Anyway, Mr. Alexander. For some reason, I've wrote your first name. I've wrote your surname twice in a row. That's me on the script, but Mr. Alexander on Instagram. Caleb Wiley is officially a Blue, signing from Atlanta United. He dropped me a DM to ask us to talk about the move, just because he's from Atlanta himself and was buzzing to see a homegrown talent join the Blues. To be fair, look, I don't know a lot, but what I do know, because I do partake in the MLS because of Seattle, he's 19, but he is an MLS veteran. I mean, he's already got 26 games, 30 games, and 21 in each of his last 3 campaigns. That's a lot of games for a young guy. And the goal against Philadelphia Union this season is certainly one to check out, listeners. One of the names as well on the top 20 young Americans to watch in the 2023 MLS season. And hey, listeners, look, and team, if you don't know much about him, he has been selected in the US Olympic squad for the Paris Games, and you can watch him take on France, New Zealand, and Guinea. I mean, he's probably going to go on loan to Strasbourg, but do you know much about him? Is this a good move, left back?
No, I have absolutely no idea who this kid is. I'm sorry. I have no idea. I've not seen a thing about him. Hope he does well, but I don't think we can necessarily expect anything of him. I don't necessarily expect anything of someone like Santos, and he's gone to Strasbourg for a season. He's going back again. Until he does something for Chelsea, I guess we'll have to wait.
I think he could be the next Roberto Carlos. Why not? Let's put the hype up. Let's put that hype up. I mean, I feel extremely bad that I got someone's name wrong, because everyone knows me. I can't even pronounce names well. So, yeah. Once I check the name, I will give you credit on that. But we're going to gear up for the 24-25 season. We face a multitude of intriguing questions, don't we, that could define this campaign. And today we're going to go round the table, share our lingering questions that Chelsea need to answer ahead of that new season. And I'm going to pull rank here, despite everything else that I've messed up on today. And my lingering question, though, ahead of the new season is, can Chelsea prevent injuries from derailing their season again?
Yeah, that was going to be one of mine.
It has to be, doesn't it? I mean, look at that. Look at last season. We suffered 43 separate injuries. Only United with 45 top that list. We had a total, I've prepared myself here. It's depressing, but hear me out. We had a total of 20 players injured through the course of the season. They lost a total of 1,745 days combined. This includes Reece James, who was out for 206 days from 2 separate injuries. And in Chelsea's worst game week, they had 11 players out at one time. I want to see a dramatic decrease on those numbers, because I don't even feel like I can fully judge this team when we actually rarely see our best 11. I mean, do we have one yet? We don't even know. I mean, Ollie, you chose this question as well yourself, but what do you think?
Well, yeah, I think it's definitely a key question going into the new season, because if we don't get it sorted out, our season's dead before we even start, really. Like if we have anything even close to the amount of injuries that we had last season, it's going to be really difficult. I hope that the club are sort of going ahead. I haven't heard anything of like any sort of precautionary measures or anything of that nature to sort of hope to lessen injuries somehow. I don't know if there was just something they could do to be a bit more cautious about it. So it seems the club are going along ahead with the idea that there shouldn't be as many injuries next season as there has in the last season. Maybe they place a lot of the blame down on Pochettino. I don't know. I think that's potentially a likely scenario. The fact that we'll be playing possession ball does indicate that we probably will get fewer injuries, because we won't be running after the ball as much as we'll be on it.
Yeah, that'd be nice. It'd be nice.
So, in theory, yeah, maybe there will be a few fewer injuries, but we've got a lot of players who are really injury prone. And we're going to have to take really special care of them, Fofana and Lavia and Reece James and Ben Chilwell and even Enzo Fernandez to a certain degree as well. So there's a lot to it, and I don't know. These problems for me, they kind of predate the current ownership. They predate the current squad and the manager. We've had injuries, quite bad injuries, for a fair few seasons in a row now.
It peaked last year, though.
Yeah, it peaked last year.
It really did.
It has to be fewer this year. Like, hopefully, this last season was just seen as an absolute freak of nature thing, compounded by having a manager who wanted us to just run all the time. I don't know. But it has to improve, doesn't
Chris, it? Undergoing rehabilitation program became the headline of the season. It was a meme of the season for us. Do you think this was a Poch training thing?
No. I think that may have contributed to the severity of the amount of injuries that we had. But we had injury crisis the year before and the year before. Ollie's just touched on it there, really. You sign a lot of injury-prone players, you're going to get more injuries. That's the issue that we have, is that, and I think the reason why sometimes we feel it more is it tends to be important players we lose through injury, not your squad players. I don't know, though, whether there's too much we can do, because I think this is a modern football problem. I think
too many games.
You look at the Premier League last year. There wasn't many teams who didn't have an injury crisis. I know Villa had one at one point, where they had loads of players out. Newcastle, Tottenham, Man United, all of these teams at some point last season had double figures of players injured. So it seems to be a football problem at the minute. And it could be down to too many games. I heard someone talking about the start of last season with the amount of VAR stoppages. Has that contributed to players getting injured because they're spending a lot of time standing around and then going straight back to playing? You can spend 4 minutes stood around waiting for a VAR decision, and then it's not given, and they've took a throw in, and you're sprinting back, but you've been stood still for 4 minutes. So I don't know what it is. I think all you've got to hope is that we don't get long-term injuries, or the players we do get injured aren't the important ones.
Because otherwise it's going to hamstring our season. Before it even starts, it puts an upper limit on where we can get to in a season.
I've got an interesting point here to make. Was it due to the medical department having a 60% staff turnover? Our long-serving head of department and lead physio were relieved of their duties. And this season, I feel, will answer the question, because Maresca is a dramatically different coach to Poch with the training methods. We know about the running, we know about the time on the ball, the difference between the two. And if the injuries continue, then I kind of feel we have to look at the medical department. Or maybe it's a combination of that plus injury-prone players, plus literally everything that you just said, Chris. I think keep it across the league. We'll have to keep an eye on all teams, really.
Yeah, I think the problem is, I understand what you're saying about we'll be on the ball more, so we should get less injuries. And that is true. I think you look at the teams who didn't get many injuries last season, Man City and Arsenal, was heavy possession-based teams who didn't do a lot of running off the ball because they had the ball for the majority of the time. I do think there's an element as well in modern football of players being overprotected. I think the problem is now, so many players, I think sports science has got to a point now where players are being told that they're tired. And if someone tells you something enough, you feel tired. And that's when then you start feeling like your legs are aching, and you do those sprints in training. You think, oh, my hamstring hurts a bit. I might have 2 weeks off. And I think there is a problem now in modern football that players aren't really pushing themselves. But you hear about older footballers talk. They played most of their careers injured. And I think the reason why the number of injuries has gone up is because players don't play injured anymore, because the sports scientists won't allow them to. So as soon as they have a niggle now, it's like, you'll have to sit this game out. So sometimes I think the injury crisis can look worse than it is, because I think players are having 2 games off. If you've got a midweek game, they'll have that week off with something that realistically someone in the 90s would have just played with.
Fair point. Chris, what's your lingering question?
My first one is, will Maresca adapt enough if his plan A isn't working?
That was another one of my questions.
Wow.
Yeah, because the most concerning thing I heard from Leicester fans about Maresca was he's a plan A manager, and that's it. If plan A doesn't work, you'll lose. Because
there's variations of plan A, but there's no plan B.
There's no plan B. And I think the problem is, and the reason why I think it would be a concern for me, is he's coming up against elite level coaches week in, week out, and elite level scouting departments and player analysis and team analysis. Every single team we play this season will know exactly what he's going to do. Now, you don't get that in the Championship as much. Not every team in the Championship has the resources that Premier League teams have. So plan A would have worked majority of the time in the Championship. But we've seen before with Chelsea managers who have a style of play, and it doesn't work. This is why we spent so long not being able to break down low blocks. Everyone knew we couldn't do it. So every team came and did it. No one thought, oh no, we'll come and play you. No, everyone just went, oh, Chelsea can't break down low blocks, so just come and sit in, lads. And it caused us a problem for so many years because our managers wouldn't adapt. We played the same way, regardless of what the opposition was doing. My main concern with Maresca is he could be another coach who he wants to play like Guardiola, but if that doesn't work, he'll just fall on his sword and be like, well, that's how we play, so that's what we're going to do.
What do you think, Ollie?
There's certainly merits to that line of questioning, I think, because only having variations on a plan A and having enough variations on a plan A only works as if the fundamentals of your plan can't be unfounded. If they can be found out and undone, then the whole structure of the tactical plan can fall apart, and that's when you can get random games where teams that you shouldn't expect to beat us smack us like 3-4-0. I don't think we can write him. We shouldn't write him off. Like he won the championship at a canter. And so it is worth saying that, like maybe his ideas and his principles with the scale up of better players will be good enough to hold up to when you hold them up to scrutiny like that more often than not. But for me, it really is a question, because if you are in the Premier League, one of these days, someone is going to work out how to play against you. And the second someone does that, other teams will look at that and have used that as a blueprint to play against you. And Chris is right. If you only have one style of play and you only have variations of that style of play, eventually everything you do is going to get found out. It happens to all kinds of managers that come to the Premier League. It would have happened to Sarri if he stayed long enough. It happened to Maresca. It's happened to a certain degree to Pep, but he's managed to change enough that it's not been an issue.
It happened to Conte.
Yeah, it happened to Conte as well. So it definitely is something that could pose a lot of issues. If we're not going to be hitting that elite level, we're really going to be susceptible to that.
Yeah, I'm happy with how we're playing more with the ball, because that seems to be the dominant. That just seems to be the Pep way now, and he does appear like a Pep. But we do need that plan B, and because you never know, low blocks or high press or whatever tactical change we're coming up against, we have to have a plan B. It's just normal. Because if plan A doesn't work, I love to take the mick and say, do it better. You do need a plan B. And I hate to do this, but I've got to drop a breaking news.
Oh, do it.
Yeah, it's loading. There we go. I can't believe I missed this, but Chelsea's pre-season games are going to be on the app, and they're £5 each.
Oh, yeah. Did you
what?
Not see that?
No, yeah. I've only just seen it come up on Twitter. I was like, is that taking the piss? It was free last year.
No, they did cost last year. It was free the year before.
I thought, oh well, what's the change?
Charging me £5 to watch
for a pre-season,
to watch half of our team, and it's only half of our actual starting 11 play against Wrexham. No thanks.
I mean, to be fair, I know you've just said it, Chris, but
it annoys me,
because that's how I feel about that £5. No, I'd love to know if any other clubs are charging. Bloody hell, Ollie!
It should have been like a package. It should have been like a package for all of them.
Yeah, it's £25
like £10
for 5
for all the games. Yeah, that's just mad.
I mean, that's a disgrace. That's a disgrace. Drogba, come on. Oh, right, Ollie, what's your question? I know we've took 2 of yours, and I'm sorry.
Yeah, but I did have one left, thankfully.
Legend.
So I think it would be useful to do it. My question is, what the fuck is the midfield going to do next season? Because
good question.
Because going into this summer window, we arguably had so many midfielders we didn't know who was going to play where in that sort of Maresca's kind of box midfield. You know, you assume Enzo Fernandez was going to start before this whole hullabaloo with him. He may still start. You would assume Caicedo will start. And then you had sort of a smorgasbord of other players. But since then, things are starting to get thinned out a little bit because Ugochukwu is going to go on loan. Santos is going on loan. Gallagher's likely to be sold. So that then leaves you with what? Is it just Kellyman and Dewsbury-Hall? And maybe Chukwuemeka as well, in terms of the midfield options. And Lavia. Is that strong enough, do you think, to take us through a whole Premier League season? I worry it's not.
I think there's still more loans in there as well. I can't see Kellyman staying around the first team.
Well, I can't
squad.
see him getting minutes even if he does stay.
No. And I think Chukwuemeka will get minutes and Lavia will get minutes with Caicedo and Enzo. And I think that'll be the 4. And then Dewsbury-Hall is in there as well. I think that 5 is enough. Whether they're good enough is a completely different question.
That is the question, isn't it?
I guess, yeah. And that's just still a lingering question with so many sort of players, futures and things like that for next season still up in the air. What is our midfield going to look like next season? And because at the moment we've got 12 midfielders who could all play in that role. So,
and some of them are injury prone.
Yeah, my concern with that midfield, though, if you look at it as Caicedo, Enzo, Lavia, Dewsbury-Hall, and Chukwuemeka, aside from Chukwuemeka, there's no goals in it. None of those players score goals. Enzo Fernandez only scores goals if we play Wimbledon in the Carabao Cup. Caicedo can only score from the halfway line.
Yeah, come on. It happens. It happens.
Go on, keep going.
Dewsbury-Hall's got 2 Premier League goals in his entire career.
Whoa.
And Lavia doesn't play football. So...
yeah, well...
And I always think the best teams have someone in midfield who's going to get at least 5 goals, and I just don't see where that's coming from.
I think
unless Chukwuemeka can stay fit.
The expectation has to be on Dewsbury-Hall. Then you would have thought. I mean, as well as on our £100 million midfield, come on, you've got to get some goals between you, but also on someone like Dewsbury-Hall, who ostensibly is going to be replacing Gallagher's goal threat.
I'll tell you what, Chris has a point. I was going through all our squad just to see if I've missed a name. You know what? I would agree. Apart from Chukwuemeka, and obviously we don't know what Dewsbury-Hall is going to be like for us. There isn't a lot of goals there. There's not many.
Which means then we're heavily reliant on our forwards.
Oh, no.
That's been a problem before.
Yes. Oh, dear. Oh, we're screwed. Oh, no. Right, my final question. I've only got 2. Just 2 lovely questions. Can Cole Palmer match the success of his first season?
That was one of mine.
Oh, look at us. Ka-ching. I mean, the question has been bouncing around my brain the whole summer because when we signed Cole Palmer, we had low expectations. I mean, we didn't know what he could cook up for us. And if at the start of the season we expected maybe a plate full of cookies, he delivered the entire Michelin star restaurant. And now I wonder, can he equal that this coming season? Because one of the main challenges he will face is the heightened expectation. And after that breakout season, opponents will be more aware of his capabilities. And he may attract closer marking and tactical adjustments designed to literally neutralise his threat. I mean, you can see, well, Chris, you picked it, so...
Yeah, well, my concern with it is, can he replicate what he did last season or anywhere near it in a more structured system? I think the best thing Poch did last season was he gave Palmer freedom to play.
Yeah.
And that turned out to be the best thing he could have done because, just look at his numbers.
Mm-hmm.
The things I've heard of Maresca is he likes patterns of play, regimented patterns of play of you pass the ball here when this player makes this run, or you move here when this player moves here, or when the ball's on this side, you go here. It is. I think a player like Palmer, you just have to. He's a bit like Hazard in that way. You just have to tell him, "Just go play, mate." I don't need to tell you how to play football because you're really good at it. So it'll be interesting to see if he can replicate anywhere near it in a more structured system, because we didn't see it for England either. Like when he was coming on in the Euros in matches, it was normally we needed a goal. So the structure wasn't really there by then. It was very much a just go on and get us a goal. So he still performed again in a very open, creative system. Can he do it if he's being told that he has to do this at certain times? I just think that's going to kill his creativity a bit.
I think he certainly could do it. I feel like we've seen he's got the capability of performing and
he's got the ability, like no doubt.
I guess the question is with that more, with people watching him more in a slightly different system, are people going to catch on and just sort of double up on him or do what? I think to a certain degree, I think we should also find ourselves saying that like he shouldn't have to replicate his season from last season next season for the whole team to succeed, because the onus has got to be on every player to be part of the goal contributions and to win us games. And he was a massive part of that last season, the overwhelming part of it. But you can't just rely on him because, like you say, if a manager finds a way to neutralize him, that's all your goals just gone. Yeah, so for me, it just feels that the onus has to be on the whole team to score goals because, like I say, it tactically just doesn't make any sense to leave him exposed like that. So we shouldn't necessarily be expecting him to do that next season because I think the onus is on the whole team, but it would be good if he could.
I mean, 33 goal involvements in 34 league games is mind-blowing. And I came with the stats today. I compared his numbers to other players who did continue to flourish after a huge debut season. So there's two huge names, of course. I went with, Mo Salah, 42 involvements in 36 games. That was his first debut season with Liverpool. Wow. And the following season, he got 30 and 38. That's respectable. Haaland.
Yeah, less, but, and that's kind of in line with what you would expect, right?
Haaland, 44 and 35. And then the following season, 32 and 31. So, as you see there's a drop-off, but hardly poor seasons, though. And we relied so heavily on Palmer last season. So, other players have to step up to help him this year. And the question is about Palmer. Obviously, it's not about the others in the squad. I mean, I've said it before. I don't believe he will come close to last season. I just think that's a ridiculous expectation. But if he was to hit double figures for goals and assists, so 10 of each plus, I mean, that'd be a solid season. And one thing that makes me think he might, I'm more encouraged, is he impressed on the big stage at the Euros, arguably England's best player. He played only 144 minutes. And yet, if you said who was England's best player, you'd probably say, you know what, Palmer, because he did stuff. I mean, maybe Bellingham in a way, but I'd say Palmer. No bias, just, yeah.
I think the thing is with Palmer, the reason why I'm not as worried about him doing it as I would be with other people, like Nicholas Jackson, for example, I thought had a good debut year, but I'm not 100% convinced he'll be able to replicate or better that coming year because he's still a little bit erratic. But with Palmer, he is just a class player.
Yeah, he is just.
You've seen it at the
you
Euros.
can see it in the way he moves. You can see it in the way he plays. He's just like he's operating at a higher frequency.
He looks like a player who will easily be sort of top 10 in his position in the world.
Oh, that'd be gold if we got that. Absolutely perfect. Especially for when we paid for him and everyone just looked around and laughed at us. Yeah. I mean, anyone else got other questions? Any lingering questions before we move to Quaresma's questions?
I've got one left.
Go
on. Most of the fans that I see was delighted when Poch got sacked. Even though when you look at our form, we was like the 4th best team in the league from January to May. But the general consensus was everyone was happy about it. How does the fan base react if Maresca has a poor start?
Yeah, that's my biggest.
If we win one of our first 5 games, what happens? What happens to
be
the
honest,
fans?
I think the fans lose their shit.
They lose their shit anyway.
What happens?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
we sign a player. Half of it hates them.
Yeah,
half of the fans hate the player. Other half think he's the next coming of Cafu, Maldini, Zidane, Beckenbauer, Pele. I'm trying to think of random names off the top of my head. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, I look at the opening 5 games that Chris just referred to. You got City, Wolves, Palace, Bournemouth, and West Ham. I mean, I'd like to think that we'd beat Wolves.
12 points. Should be 12 points.
Palace, you have no idea because they've lost Elise. That's a huge loss.
And they might lose Eze if you haven't seen them.
That's the thing. City, like I said, you never know. Flip of the coin because it's the start of the season. Wolves are always difficult for us, despite when we beat them 5-1 under Lampard. And Bournemouth, I always feel like kryptonite. And West Ham, again, London derby. I mean, you got a point. I mean,
if you start poorly, the fans will turn very quickly.
Yeah, but fans turn anyway after one bad result.
My concern would be, how do the squad react? Because we know a lot of the squad liked Poch.
True.
And it seems like they've took to Maresca. All the reports are suggesting that all the players have been impressed with him, blah, blah, blah. But you've got to remember, this is a manager with no pedigree whatsoever to throw on the table.
Yeah.
You know, throwing I won the championship with Leicester isn't going to carry any weight in a dressing room. So if he starts poorly, do the players start thinking, I don't think he's up for this?
Yeah. And then
I think that's the problem.
If that happens enough, then you've got players turn their heads, and then and then you have a season like we had before with Potter, where just the players had no faith in the coach whatsoever.
I've got to steal a drop from my favourite pod that is no longer more.
Trope alert.
So it is a troop alert, isn't it? Because a new manager is loved by the players with his style of play. Old manager, we didn't really like that style of play on the training ground. They say that every manager. If we fired Enzo tomorrow, and then brought in whoever, any name, they would go, oh, we didn't really enjoy all the training drills and we're having to come in on extra days. We love the new guy. I mean, it's so... I do get a little excited to hear it, but then I remember, we always hear that.
They said the same under Graham Potter.
Yeah, I've never heard a manager ever, within the first few weeks of their tenure, a club players come out and go, we don't like this.
And you've got
it's in the club's best interest as well to make sure that that's what you see.
Exactly.
I think you've got to remember as well, and I think fans have got to remember that when Graham Potter came in, he arguably had more pedigree to say to the players, my way does work, than Maresca has, because he'd guided Brighton to being there was a well-established and a well-respected Premier League club who played good football, and the players didn't get behind Potter because the results didn't come. And my issue is, a bit like Potter, Maresca hasn't handled players of this caliber, players with egos of players that go to big clubs, and that's the problem if results don't come. Now I hope he starts really well, and if we beat Man City opening day, I think that would be a massive boost.
It would certainly
but you could quite easily look at those first 5 games and think we could go first 3 and we ain't got a point yet, and all of a sudden everyone's thinking, what have we done here?
Yeah, I can see your point. I can see it. Yeah. Well, wait. Well, those are the I assume, unfortunately, because we're all on the same page here, same wavelength. Ollie, you're all out of questions.
I am indeed.
Hey, well, Quaresma, he's got some questions for us. Friend of the show, Chris Bailey, has asked us on the Discord. Get on there, listeners. It's quite good. We got a pets channel now as well, so you can post your pets. I've been enjoying that. Some really cool creatures, animals, and pets out there. I loved it. Yeah, my cat does a high five. That's just wanted to put that out there. It's worth just for that video. Anyway, he has asked, the goalkeeper position seems extremely uncertain right now, given Maresca is our new coach for the next season. If you're in charge of transfers, what would you do, realistically, to get the right group of keepers in the goalkeeper room at the club?
I don't know.
That's a tough question.
Because when we do have the opportunity to put the right people at the club, we seem to make the wrong decisions in terms of goalkeeping departments, whether it's coaches, whether it's actual players. Like, and nothing we've done around the goalkeeping situation in the past 2 years, I would say, has been anything that you could consider like a top club level. I wonder is like, do you have to stop the rot first?
I mean, I would look realistically. I would try and sell Robert Sanchez if possible. I'd keep Petrovic because I quite like him, and sign one of Jorgensen or Mamardashvili. Obviously, if we can't afford Mamardashvili, then I'll happily take Jorgensen. And Fabrizio Romano had said that tonight we've made an initial approach to Villarreal for him. So that's interesting. I'm like, ooh, okay.
All right. He's all right.
I like him.
Like, it's not. Yeah, of course you do. It's a big step up though. Like for a keeper like him who's kind of not done a massive amount. Like, is it a big step in terms of like what we're trying to do as a club? I think he's marginally better than both Petrovic and Sanchez.
Yeah, I mean,
he's probably about on par with Kepa. I'm looking
at Chris here because I thought of you earlier, Chris, because we've got admirers at the club for Mads Hermansson of Leicester, and I thought I'm pretty sure Chris referred to that we get linked with him.
Yeah, I did. Yeah. Well, yeah. To be honest with you, I'd be trying everything to get rid of Robert Sanchez because I think he's absolutely woeful. Petrovic, I'd overrule whether Maresca wants him or not, and I'd say he's one of your goalkeepers. Tough. Play him or don't, but he's not going anywhere because it just seems a bit pointless. And then I'd be asking him what sort of goalkeeper he wants, what key attributes he looks for. I'd find a goalkeeper that matches that, and I'd say to him, listen, if he talks more about the goalkeeper with his feet, then that's fine. We'll get a goalkeeper who's better with his feet than his hands. But as the manager, you live or die on that decision. And if it turns out that in January you're coming to me saying, I think we need another keeper, then on your head be it. Because I have a real problem again with managers talking about goalkeepers because of their feet. Put an outfielder in goal then if you're that bothered. We've got loads of midfielders. Whack one of them in goal.
That's true.
If you want someone who's good with their feet, we've got loads of them.
We wouldn't lose a goal scoring threat.
I want a goalkeeper who is going to save you points with his hands.
Yes.
And I think the problem that we have, and Ollie's absolutely right. Now, all the goalkeepers we've been linked with, probably aside from Mamardashvili to a point, and he's only to a point, they're not world class. They're not goalkeepers who come in and you think, oh, instantly.
They're not goalkeepers that are going to come in and you're going to think, yeah, he's going to save me 12 points a season.
On that topic,
I think we need a keeper who comes in and you could make an argument in a pub that these top 5 goalkeeper in the league.
Oh, perfect. On that, I've got a segue now because on that goalkeeper topic, No Lawsco asked via Instagram, thoughts on David De Gea?
No.
Oh. He's free. He's free. He's free.
Yeah,
he costs
we
you
had
nothing.
we had this conversation about Kepa so long ago. He's the only player who's
Kepa's
worse than and costs more than Kepa.
Well, he wouldn't cost us anything. He's free.
He would wages.
Yeah, his wages would be absolutely outrageous. Why do you think he hasn't found a club yet?
Yeah,
because he's waiting for the right move. Of course.
Oh yeah, of course he is. Yeah, and what does the right move consist of, Michael?
Us 250 to 400 a week.
In fairness, I'd take De Gea on a wage cut.
Yes,
take him over Sanchez.
Well, yeah,
I take him over all of our goalkeepers on a wage cut.
Yeah. You're not worried about that year out?
Not really. Not with a goalkeeper, no.
Okay.
Get back up to speed pretty quick, I think.
Yeah, right. Julian, via Instagram, asked, do you think Chelsea fans have underestimated the work of the new ownership? I mean, this was before, obviously, the Trevor Chalobah news. And I was like, That's anyway. Answer away.
Underestimated. That's a bit of a.
Yeah.
That's an interesting question. I think the fan bases they've overestimated it in some stages and underestimated it in others. I think.
Oh, okay.
I agree with that. I do think I don't think everything they've done is bad. Even though they've been criticised for almost every decision they've made. I think a lot of their decisions you won't know whether they're good or bad decisions until a few years' time.
And people aren't patient.
True. I do think they've had some stinkers as well, though.
Yeah.
I think there's something to be said as well about their general like decision making and the fact that like we take so many gambles as a club.
Yeah, yeah. I think the problem, out of everything they've done, though, I think the thing I have the biggest problem with is our transfer policy. Outside of everything else they've done, I think our transfer policy is the one that concerns me the most because that's the one that's going to have the biggest impact on the pitch.
Yes.
Which is, as fans, really all we care about. The transfer policy of only signing kids, trying to stockpile loads of wonder kids, hoping one of them turns out to be great, not really having a plan with the direction of the squad, not wanting to sign any experienced players, signing a load of players, having a window very much like we've had so far, underwhelming signing mid-table players who you're fighting off the interest from Brighton and Brentford and West Ham for signatures, not Man City, Arsenal, Man United. I think the problem is that it seems to me a little bit like they want to build something for the future, but they forgot about the now.
I mean, what's bizarre is we've made a profit so far in this window. Doesn't feel it, but we've sold over 100 million euros of talent and only spent 88 million.
Maatsen, the money went out, like I think counting on Hall as well.
Hutchinson, Hall.
Yeah,
it's interesting. Right, finally one from me because I saw it on Instagram and I thought, why not crowbar this in? So, and it was a good. This Chelsea fan got ripped on social for this, but anyway, let's see if we do. Would you swap Cole Palmer for any of these players? Now, unless I say otherwise, just assume it's the current version of these players. So,
sorry, like you mean when you say current, so all these players are going to still be playing?
Yeah, the current version of that player. Yeah. So, Phil Foden.
No,
I wouldn't swap Palmer for Foden.
People watch the Euros, right?
Yeah, no way. Bukayo Saka.
No,
I wouldn't swap him either.
Agreed. Mo Salah. Current version. No, I agree as well.
Even prime Salah.
Wow. I think we need a goal scorer. So I'll be like, no, I agree. Martin Odegaard.
No.
Even me, I can't. I know he's a Scandinavian player. I can't do it. Harry Kane.
No, I want to win trophies.
Yeah, fair point. I do think after the Euros, I actually do think Harry Kane is cursed.
He was so good last season for Bayern, but would I swap him? Who's going to feed him goals? That's the point. Feeding balls.
And Cole Palmer's so much younger.
True. We are looking at it that way. Okay, no, I agree. Jude Bellingham.
No.
Oh.
No, because I think eventually one that's made me think.
It's tough, that one.
The reason I react so quickly is because I don't think Bellingham would have an affinity for the club like Palmer does for us. And I think he would be looking at us more of a stepping stone.
Oh, I hadn't thought about it in this. This is deep. This is deeper than I was taking it. Yeah, no. Okay. Current Lionel Messi. This was a straight no for me. It's current Messi. No.
Definitely not. Definitely not.
Yep. Kevin De Bruyne. Current?
No.
Agreed. This is the three where I feel we're all going to say unanimously what we would because we're not stupid. Prime Frank Lampard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We need goals in midfield.
Yeah.
That's
Chris, you can't say what you said earlier now.
I don't know though.
Yes, I'd swap him.
No, you're insane if you.
I wouldn't think twice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Easiest decision. Like guaranteed 20 goals.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's fair.
All right.
Yeah, I probably would then.
Prime Eden Hazard. Yes.
No, definitely.
Yeah, I would. Yeah.
Of course I would. It's Eden Hazard.
Yeah.
Prime Didier Drogba. Would you want to win a trophy? I was going to say, do you want to win a trophy?
I would make that swap.
Oh, yes.
I wouldn't.
Oh, no. Oh, listeners, I know. I'm thinking the same.
No, and my reason is Drogba, one of my favourite Chelsea players ever, and I think he's still criminally underrated. But he didn't get that many goals in the Premier League. His all-round game was superb, but I don't think we've got the players around him now that would make the most of his all-round game. I think he would still only get the sort of goals, the number of goals that he got on average,
about 15,
which is about what Jackson got last season. And the other people around him aren't good enough to make the most. Like, this isn't Hazard, Lampard that we're talking, Robben that we're talking about here. This is, we're talking about Madueke and Mudryk. They're not going to make the most of Drogba.
Yeah,
they'd let him down.
I love how we've actually taken this a lot deeper than the Instagram social post, which is just yes or no. It's like, actually, when you think about it, okay. You know what? I've got time for a Ross Turnbull's Tenaball, and this week's category is La Liga, and I want you to work together to name the top 10 highest paid players in the La Liga, and some of these just blew my bloody mind. You don't need to guess their wage. I mean, if you do, you'll cry.
Lewandowski?
I was going to go with Lewandowski.
If I tell you he's second on the list on 640,000 euros a week, someone is paid more than Lewandowski.
Is it Frankie de Jong is paid more?
Frankie de Jong is paid, he's number one, 721,000 euros. No wonder he doesn't want to leave. I
wonder why Barcelona are broke.
Oh, wow, that could be why. I mean,
you know what? They deferred his wages for ages. That might be because they're topping it up.
Yeah,
that would not be helping.
He is miles ahead of any other Barcelona player in the squad.
Bellingham's got to be in there.
Joint fifth with 400,000 euros a week.
Vinny Jr.
Junior, same joint fifth, same as Bellingham. And you just said Griezmann. Nope, he's not on there. I don't know where he is, actually.
Are we counting Mbappe? Is he on the list?
He's on 600,000 euros a week.
Modric
is not, no.
Okay. He's gone down as he's gotten older. Valverde?
Yeah.
Number 9. Well, yeah, he would be 9. 320,000 a week.
Crikey. Rudiger
is not in the top 10. 2 Real Madrid players are, though.
2 more Real Madrid players.
2 more.
It's not going to be Rodrigo, surely.
No. I was quite surprised who's 4th. Real Madrid.
Eder Militao?
No. Both actually signed for Real Madrid as free agents. Obviously Mbappe, 3rd, and the 4th player was a free agent, this is why I'm like, they really overpaid, don't they?
David Alaba.
Yeah, 432,000. I was like, wow.
Yeah, on a free though, you always get a bumper deal.
Well, yeah,
he's shit there though, isn't he?
He's injured at the moment, isn't he? I'm not saying yes or no on that.
Who else? So
there's one more
Real Madrid player left.
Yes, there is.
It's not Kroos, is it?
No, well, he's retired, so he's not.
I know, but I was wondering if it counted on there.
No.
So Chris said Carvajal as well.
He's not, no. If I tell you his position, yes, 288.
Yeah, fair enough.
So you've got one more goalkeeper and a midfielder.
Ter Stegen?
No.
Oblak.
Yes, 400,000, joint 5th. And finally, it's a Barcelona player, which again, I'm surprised he got this much. But hey, I don't run their books, so.
Is it João Felix?
It's not, but I saw he's worth 30 million, which is
whatever they're paying him, it's too much.
Barcelona midfielder.
Gundogan?
Pedri.
Gundogan, 360.
Wow.
Yeah. If you want to cry some more about Barcelona, no one does. Fourth spot on their most highest paid player list is Ansu Fati at 268,000.
Oh, that's a lot of money.
That's aged well.
That's a lot of money for him.
Yeah, I saw as well. They're looking at selling Vita Rogue. I was like, you've only just bought him.
I think it's Roque, isn't it?
Roque. Oh, sorry. I was like,
yeah,
it is actually. I've just seen it. I've just seen his name when I was looking at his salary. That's
they need money. That's what.
I mean, but really, he was like. I remember Barcelona doing fans were doing a countdown for when he signed, and now it's like, oh, we're going to sell him.
Yeah, because I don't think he got injured and he's not being like quite what they expected. Then when you've got someone like Yamal who's so in the spotlight, absolutely killing it, and he's younger than Roque is anyway.
If you wanted to know about,
cast a shadow on him.
Ter Stegen's only paid 121,000. I mean, I'm not crying for him. I'd still love that money, but in football terms, that doesn't feel a lot considering he's very important.
That puts him in the egg barley range.
Yeah, that's true. Actually. His release clause is 500 million euros. I don't think we're going to be activating that anytime soon, but we activate Kepa's, so you never know. We could do
500 million.
Yeah. If you wanted Ansu Fati, it's 1 billion euros.
No way.
Are you feeling wild, Todd?
That's not real. There's no way that's real.
Yeah, Vinny Junior's got one. Yeah,
Ansu Fati has £1 billion release clause. Who does he think he fucking is? Oh my god!
Other £1 billion release clauses at Barcelona. Because we're on that topic, you've got there's a lot of players: Ansu Fati, Jules Koundé, Rafinha, Ferran Torres, Pedri, Ronald Araujo, Gavi, Aliano Balde, Lamine Yamal.
Oh, so this is just what they do for all of their players who look like they're going to be good.
They have
Isn't it a rule
that
they have to have a release clause?
Yeah.
But realistically, they don't want to sell them, do they? So they put
the
a release clause that no one's ever going to pay.
The Neymar deal screwed them because they were like, no one's going to pay that. And PSG went,
we'll pay that.
We'll do that.
PSG
and then
I remember
we will. There was so much kickback going, they legally can't do that. No, they can. You did put that in the deal. You just assumed no one would pay it. And they did.
Yeah, you just assume no one would, and then in walks PSG.
Yes, whatever the fee. Let's say it was 200 million. It's a 200 million release clause. We'll pay that. What? Oh, you can't do that. Yeah, we can. Bye. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Thank you for listening to the episode. Treat yourself well. We'll be back on Friday, and guess what we're doing? Winners and losers. It's back. Wrexham. I can't wait for Wrexham.
Oh my god.
Wrexham. I can't wait for $4.99 a week. Well, per game, because then there's another one on the Saturday, isn't there? Come on. Right. That'll be. Did Chris just choke?
I think that's just the noise he makes when he shrugs.
Still thinking about that five to watch us play Wrexham.
Wrexham, we're going to be on. Welcome to Wrexham. Oh, right. With that, that's us signing off. You've been listening to At the Bridge Pod, a Chelsea FC podcast. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram by searching for At the Bridge Pod. And if you're listening on Apple or Spotify, leaving us a review is always appreciated.